Wacky Races was a 1968 show by Hanna-Barbera. It was part of the same plan to produce some more light-hearted, less edgy content that also resulted in Scooby-Doo a year later. In this video I'm gonna go through the basics of the show and try to use my own formula to figure out which one of the races really performed best. The first thing you need to know about this show is that it followed absolutely no pattern. There was no continuity between episodes, and even the things which happened within any given episode had no effect on who actually ended up winning the race. Just because an episode may focus more on, say, the anthill mob, that doesn't guarantee it's their time to come in first place. On the contrary, they would usually end up coming outside the top 3 altogether. This show was all about packing in as many arbitrary gags as possible. And well, car pile-ups. Lots and lots of car pile-ups. Like most Hanna-Barbera cartoons, it really was a simple formula, but I think they did it well. I have a lot of nostalgia from watching this show as a child. All of the character designs are very innovative. They all get to have their moments in the show, with their different special powers. The ludicrous inventions of Professor Pat Pending are a highlight for me.
And unable to pass is number 3, but driver Pat Pending is always inventing. How about that bit? He's changed into a giant drill. He passes number 5, 7, 9, and 4, leaving them far behind. Oh, nothing can stop him now. Well, almost nothing.
But the dragon from the creepy coop was a little OP, not gonna lie. Very rarely did anyone get the better of him. Obviously though, the antagonist of the show was also its main character. Dick Dastardly and Muttley are a blast. Easily the funniest thing about the show. They get their comeuppance for their actions all the time, in the form of some slapstick comedy, and to top it all off, poor Dick Dastardly is treated to Muttley's iconic laugh whenever things go wrong. The funny thing about it all is that there is no need for them to cheat. I mean, they clearly have the fastest vehicle, just look at it. But despite always being miles in front of everyone else, instead of just racing on and winning, they always have to stop and try and slow the others down. It's almost like Dick Dastardly doesn't care about winning, and only cares about trolling the other competitors. This is the same man who once posed for a picture at the finish line, let's not forget. I don't think he is always to blame though. Deep down I think he knows that the powers that be are out to get him. Take the episode Creepy Trip to Lemon Twist for example. In this one, at the end Dick actually chooses to race fair, and in a photo finish gets the job done, only to be robbed by the judges. See how it unfolded.
But here comes Dick Dastardly with a last-minute burst of speed. And it looks as if Dick Dastardly won, with number 5 second and number 2 third. But wait a minute. The judges have asked to see a slow-motion instant replay of the finish. Uh-oh. Notice the front of Dastardly's car. Boo! Dick Dastardly has been disqualified for, stretching a point.
That was just nonsense. For a start, racers do worse things than this all the time, and are never disqualified. Rufus Roughcut even won a race by extending his neck, and was still given the win. Secondly, if you look at the original footage, it is clear for all to see that his car was normal as it crossed the finish line. So putting my conspiracy theory hat on, I reckon they tampered with the footage. So the only conclusion I can come to is that the judges would never let him win no matter what. So yeah, screw them. I'm all on board with him just saying to hell with this and trying to make a farce out of the races. As much as I may have sympathy for him though, the facts are the facts, and once I move over to my table here, Dick Dastardly and Muttley sadly come dead last. Indeed, the 00 gets a quadruple 0. I guess I should briefly explain my methodology for finding out who really won this series. It has been done by a few other people before, who tried to use the official Formula 1 standings. However, that gets a bit murky in my opinion, for a few reasons. You could either use the way they did it at the time this show aired, or the way it's done today. Both will give you different results. Then there's the matter of, do you count everyone, or only the top 3? I decided to be like the Olympics. and only care about the top 3. My justification for this is that it seems the show itself only cares about the top 3. It only reads out the top 3 finishes in every race, and often doesn't even bother showing the rest crossing the line. So it's clear to me that, as far as this show is concerned, only the top 3 are worthy of recognition. Besides, who cares about the losers anyway, right? So because of that, I've decided to simplify things by giving 1 point for a 3rd place finish, 2 for a 2nd, and 3 for a 1st. I think that's a decent way of doing things. Once I add up all the points, it should give us a good indication of the most consistent performers from all the 34 races. If level on points, the number of race wins will be the deciding factor, and if they are still level after that, then number of top 3 finishes will decide it. Got that? Right, here we go. Coming in 10th, which is actually last out of the races which were allowed to win, we have Sergeant Blast and Private Meekly in the Army Surplus Special, with a rather meek 11 points. They had 3 wins, 1 second, and interestingly, 0 thirds. It's interesting because every other character on this list finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at least once each. I don't know if the writers were mapping all this out, but if they were, they obviously neglected these 2 army men. Coming in 9th, we have Professor Pat Pending in the converter car. He finished 1st thrice, 2nd twice, and 3rd 5 times. The Goody Two Shoes inventor is level on points with the 2 above him, but below them on 1st place finishes. In 8th place we have another Goody Two Shoes, Peter Perfect in the Turbo Terrific. His results were 4 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds. It's really no surprise that he is quite low. His car literally fell apart before the finish line a few times. Him simping for Penelope Pitstop didn't help him out either, if I'm going to be brutally honest. In at 7, also on 18 points, is Lucan Blubberbear in the Arkansas Chuckabug. Despite being level with Peter Perfect on points and wins, they finished in the top 3 one more time, so they edge him out. I quite like these 2. We can all aspire to be as chill as Luke, with the way he drives his car with his feet, and Blubber Bear has his moments to shine too. An underrated duo, in my opinion. At 6th with 20 points, we have the Red Max in the Crimson Hay Baler, with a record of 3 wins, 4 seconds, and 3 thirds. This guy was a bit short of screen time in the show, mostly because his only real gag was his plane vehicle, which happened to suck at flying. In the middle at 5th place are the Gruesome Twosome, driving the Creepy Coupe. They had 3 wins, 3 seconds, and 6 thirds, which equates to 21 points. These 2 are quite fun, with their deep and high voices respectively. They have some cool monsters in their car, like the Witch and the Storm Cloud, and the Bats and all that. However, as stated, they rely on a dragon far too much. I did like one scene from them in particular, where they scare the ghosts. They had been scaring all the other racers all episode, but then this mob turn up and they're like, nope, and get the hell out of there. In at number 4, also on 21, is Penelope Pitstop in the Compact Pussycat. She had 4 wins, 2 second place finishes, and 5 third place ones, so she creeps ahead of the Creepy Coupe on number of wins. Along with maybe the Anthill Mob, she was one of the bigger characters of the show outside of Dick Dastardly. Now she is very stereotypical, and probably a product of the time. I mean, the only female on the show is obsessed with her looks, and her entire car is based around her doing makeup for God's sake. Despite this though, in fairness, she does know how to stand up for herself, and is funny on occasion, so she was a welcome addition to the show. The first people to crack the all-important top 3 are the Anthill Mob in their Bulletproof Bomb. They had 4 wins, 5 seconds, and 2 thirds, which is good enough for 24 points. These little mobsters always get quite a bit of screen time, whether they are playing baseball or pretending to be the 7 Dwarfs. They are also quite entertaining, with Clyde ordering ring-a-ding about, and their famous getaway power. They must have learnt that from Fred Flintstone. Right, we are into the top 2 now. And ironically, they are 2 of the blandest characters on paper. Getting the silver medal are Rufus Roughcut and Sawtooth in the Buzzwagon. They have 25 points, which they accumulated from finishing 1st 3 times, 2nd place 6 times, and 3rd 4 times. These 2 are not the most important characters on the show, but they prove to be quite a team. Sawtooth, the beaver's ability to cut down any tree, is put to good use by the lumberjack on numerous occasions. So, if you know this show, by now, you would have worked out that the Slag Brothers in the Boulder Mobile won the whole damn thing. They finished with an impressive 28 points, which consisted of only 3 wins, but a staggering 8 second place finishes, and 3 thirds to boot. To put it in perspective, they finished in second in almost a quarter of all the races. And I have to say, I find it quite fitting that a show as silly and farcical as this was won by 2 cavemen just hitting themselves with clubs. That is pretty much all they did. It was pretty fun watching them smash other cars and smash their own car to make themselves go faster, but it's so basic, isn't it? I'm pretty sure their designs also inspired Captain Caveman less than a decade later though, so that's something. As I look over the results, as a whole, I am struck by how they did a solid job of spreading the results around evenly. The Army Surplus Special is a bit of an outlier really, they definitely drew the short straw. I hope you all liked my methodology, but rest assured that no matter how you decide to rank them, the Slag Brothers would come out on top. 8 second places is just too many for the others to compete with. So yeah, I just had to cover this cartoon at some point. It was obviously not the deepest thing ever, but it was good fun, and I do have lots of good memories of it. There were also a few spin-offs of this show, involving Penelope Pitstop and the Anthill Mob. Dick Dastardly and Muttley were the biggest breakout characters though. They stuck around for Dick Dastardly and Muttley in their flying machines, which was also a decent show. The theme song from that is pretty memorable.
Nab him, jab him, tab him, grab him, stop that picking now!
They still appear occasionally, even nowadays. The recent movie Scoob featured them in a prominent role. And of course, let's not forget about the short-lived 2017 reboot of Wacky Races. I've never seen it, but apparently it wasn't that well liked. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing any new Wacky Races content anytime soon. There is one other show I want to touch on briefly before I go. That is Laugh Olympics. Now this show had its problems, but I still have some nostalgia for it. I thought it was a cool idea to have all the Hanna-Barbera characters competing against each other in this cartoon version of an Olympic Games. And although it was dominated by the Scooby-Doobies and the Yogi Yahooies, unlike in Wacky Racers, the bad guy team, the Really Rottens, actually won a few episodes. That was a massive surprise to my younger self when I saw it for the first time. It's just a shame that due to licensing issues, Dick Dastardly and Muttley were replaced by the Dread Baron and Mumbly. I mean, they were still essentially the same characters, just nowhere near as iconic. Of course, it wasn't just TV shows though. There was a lot of Wacky Racers video games as well. And why not? The show lends itself very well to that format. I've played a few of them, my favourite being the PS2 game, Wacky Racers starring Dastardly and Muttley. It was a fun game to play, and it managed to really capture the vibe of the show very well. Anyway, that's all for this one guys. I really hope you enjoyed this little video. Please support the channel with a like and subscribe if you did, and let me know if you have any fond memories of Wacky Racers, or any of the spin-offs in the comments. It really has been a pleasure to chat about this show. Thanks for watching, and take care.